I'd like to welcome everybody to the Coaches in the Mouth pod. This is Coach Jeff Williams along with Coach Daryl Fimple and the Mouth Brent Bender. First of all, hey, welcome. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. There's nothing like this time of year when we're getting ready to play and Thanksgiving semifinals, some quarterfinals. Man, unbelievable. But before we get started, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors. Well, this podcast is powered by Lindsay and Associates. Also, it's sponsored by All-American Steakhouse in Springdale and the Pigs brand. Daryl, let's get into it. Let's recap last week. I mean, at the end of the day of it is, let's talk about how crazy that 2A, 3A's become.
Man, it really has. And then I tell you, the old home court advantage or home field advantage did not play out real well. There was people who traveled on the road and took care of business. Some of them went down. It's just, but like I said, I think it's still going to come out of the East, especially in 3A. Got a big, huge win from Junction City. Dominique Grimes. Yeah. He was the whole entire difference in that game in the second week of the season. Grimes was unstoppable, by far might be the best 2A player in the state of Arkansas.
Well, you see Junction City got together and went down, and, we've been on Carlisle all year long. They've dominated, and they just got dominated. I mean, unbelievable.
They left no doubt. There was no doubt.
Zero
no doubt. Junction was ready for that game. Probably had it circled all year long. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, Conway Christian and Des Arc, that was a tight game.
Tight game in that one. The funny thing about that game was there was over they probably played it in like 30 minutes because there's 800 yards on the ground between the two teams. 800 yards of rushing in that game. And like I said, it was a heck of one, 50-36 in that one. Jaron Thomas played phenomenal at quarterback, came up with some big plays for Conway Christian. Like we said about Junction was unbelievable. Mills Road too. Moody had over 300 yards of total offense, get a big test this week in that one. Bismarck got Ben Keithley back. Yeah, which makes a huge, huge difference for them. Most wins in program history last week. Number 11 was the most wins they've had in the season at Bismarck. So their season of fantasticness is still going on. Fordyce, another one, lost her quarterback there early, plugged a guy in, ended up winning that one. Prayers go to that kid. I think he's going to be out for a while. But yeah, they just finding ways to win. Dardanelle, the Vegas, it's unreal. We'll talk about their stats later on. And another one sneaking around that's explosive, especially in 2A, is the EPC. Yeah, EPC's got some. They've got D Buchanan, the running back right there. He had 13 carries for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns this past week in the win over Bigelow. Bigelow's at the house right now. First time in a while they're not eating turkey. Yeah, that's the other thing we got to talk about. What team is going to have the best turkey spread Thursday?
Well, that's true.
Right after practice, I'm going to go with either Rivercrest or Osceola. I think they're going to throw some stuff. They're going to throw some stuff on there, man.
Well, and also you had the Salem Hail Mary here at the end, buddy.
Golly, yes. Salem sends a message right there. They're going to be reckoned with. They got their running game going. They got in a low scoring game, did a great job keeping Prescott boxed in, and they roll on to the next round.
They do. Mouth, let's talk about 7A a little bit. PA goes to Fayetteville, takes care of business. Conway squeaks by Rogers. Bentonville took care of business, and Bryan obviously doing their thing.
Bentonville just went West came across town and took a beating like Bentonville gives people. Bentonville played like Bentonville. Bryant Cabot. Bryant just keeps doing Bryant things. Coach Mark Sanders just keeps on rolling. Hats off to Coach one of Fayetteville's favorite sons, Anthony Lucas, coming back home and taking it right to Casey Dick and the Fayetteville Purple Dogs in overtime.
Yeah, that was a great ball game. And I tell you what, I know the score doesn't indicate it was really a defensive game. It was, 18-19 for a long time, 24-25. Then, of course, went to overtime. Both defenses played really well.
Might have had the best play call segment in the overtime was PA.
Yeah.
If you remember the first down, they get the quarterback sneak, get it in there about 6 yards, and then you go to Fayetteville's first possession, they get sacked.
Yeah.
And then you're way behind the chains, man. It changes the whole play game.
Yeah.
The greatest thing about that game is both teams competed as hard as that. neither team left anything out on the field.
Yeah, and like I said, we've challenged Fayetteville's defense, and they stepped up, and the PA did too. A great matchup. Here's where I'm going, man. And let's talk about it. We'll have him on a little bit later. I think the story of the night was Tommy Tice and the Farmington Cardinals, 300 victory for Coach Tice, but moving those guys on, really big upset, to be honest with you, against the Fighting Vaughns and the Cardinals. But Farmington moving on. Lakeside goes to Robinson, picks him off. Kind of controversial deal there at the end. And Parkview taking care of Parkview. And then obviously the Valley View Morrilton game right down the wire. Could have went any way. Valley View pulls it out at the end. And so what was did you watch that one, Daryl?
It's playoff time. Which one?
The Valley View Morrilton game. That thing was unbelievable.
That was Morrilton, golly, they're so good on offense. It's unbelievable. But Valley View matched them, Drew Gartman, that guy, kid's he's a really good player. And then they got the Jones kid on the outside, had 5 catches over 100 yards. They're really good. They're really good. Yeah. Both of those teams were really good. That was one of the best games to watch. And then you talked about Farmington, Coach Tice getting number 300, by the way. Mm-hmm. 300. This guy has found the fountain of youth too, man. He's got the microphone out after the game. He's leading the band. I don't think he's probably bought a supper in Farmington this year. They love that guy. It might have to be the early bird special. They might have to take him out there early, but man, I'm telling you, he's getting all these old coaches that we're having come on, these Hall of Famers. They're probably getting calls this spring.
Yeah, I think so. Coach Young, we'll have him on later on. I guess.
Yeah, Coach Young might be getting the call.
Exactly. All right, let's get into our small school. Go ahead.
Can I didn't get to give a shout out to that great game between Rogers and Conway.
Yes.
Rogers.
How good is that Reagan kid?
Their quarterback, he is a competitive dude now.
Yes, sir.
Nothing out on the field. And number 14, Lindsey, the wide receiver / tight end / defensive end, those are 2 studs. They're juniors. If they're not being recruited by major college D1 programs, they don't know what they're missing.
I guarantee you that. What an effort by them, and Coach Harbison them had a great year. Okay, Daryl, let's get into it. Small school top 6.
Small school top 6. We got some moving and shaking.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Some of my old people aren't even going to hear their names called here in the also. Sorry. Cleaning jerseys right now, maybe getting order forms ready. It's not fun. This is the worst day for some coaches. Bless their hearts. Also, we've got Junction City, big, huge win down there. Dominique Grimes, like I talked about, 5'9", 175 pounds, might be the best player in 2A football. Man, they are big up front. Defensively, they had an awesome game defensively against Carlisle. Conway Christian gets some also votes. Jaron Thomas is leading that bunch. Like I said, they had 428 yards rushing this past week against Desark, down Desark 50-36. Boonville, Doc. Hey, how about Doc threw a couple passes? Yeah, listen to this one, dude. We have Hunter Warren is the running back there, the fullback there. They went on a 10-play convincing 93-yard drive. Dude carried it 9 of the 10 times.
Jeez, oh my.
Yeah, we're coming right at you. And then we're going guard center there, by the way, too. So he had his own drive there. Doc, like I said, Jace Washburn threw 2 touchdown passes in that game. Boonville on a convincing win there. Little Rock Mills also gets some votes. Moody's over 1,500 yards rushing. He had over 300 yards of total offense last week. Big, huge week for Mills this week. They got behind Clinton. Actually, they had 42 points in that game.
Tied at half, kind of going through the motions, and then just turn it on in the second half.
Explosion. Yes, Malvern staying in there too. Bishop Allen had a huge game, had 3 touchdowns over Highland this past week. Bismarck would be my number 7 if we had a number 7.
Yeah.
Because Ben Keithley's back. They're pretty good too. Both Keithleys are back. Like I said, that was their 11th win. That's the most in school history. Like I said, they would be right up there. Fordyce just keeps finding a way. And I'm telling you, they're really good on defense. And, man, they're explosive offensively. Here's the one that's sneaking in our Alsos, too, Southside Batesville.
Yeah.
Remember we passed millage last year.
Yeah. Undefeated. Undefeated.
It's paying off. It's paying off. Brandon Simpson and Owen McLaughlin had 2 touchdowns apiece running the ball last week. And like I said, EPC had a big, huge win over Bigelow this past week. D. Buchanan had 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are our alsos. Number 6, though, Mansfield, baby.
They're back, baby.
Mansfield's back. We're back in there, even though we haven't did the Hall of Fame honors yet for Coach Elmore. Daniel Burton this past week had 25 carries for 198 yards and 4 touchdowns in their convincing win. You know, everybody seems thinking, hey, Mansfield's going to have a problem with speed. Well, they didn't this week. They figured it out, and we were starting to figure out they're a little faster than we give them credit for. They got some guys that can run too. Number 5, going to slide in there. Cavante Washington became the all-time total yards guy in Rivercrest history.
Hey, and that's saying something, buddy. They've had
like 17,000 yards or something. It's crazy. Yeah, he became the all-kind. He threw for 209 yards. He had 46 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. They beat Rising, jumped on Rising early, man. They had to fight them off at the end. They ended up winning 52-34. Jaden Young led them in rushing also on the ground. Jacavian Williams, big plays, man. He had a 63-yard run there to finish that game off. So Rivercrest is rolling into the playoffs. Big game this week, too. Number 4 is going to be Arkadelphia. The Badgers are going to come in at 4. Bryson McCoy keeps doing his thing. He's had 231 yards and 4 touchdowns this past week. And Arkadelphia is playing some really, really good defense too, by the way. They can move some bodies. Number 3. Oh, by the way, Rivercrest. Hey, we're running the quarterback power.
Let's get back to it, boy.
Yeah, it's playoff time now. Cavante's going to bust it off now. We're going 5. We're going trips one way, dubs the other. We're just up there pulling people. It's crazy. So we go back to the power game this week. OCO is going to come in at number 3. Beat Charleston this week, which was kind of a mix. You know, the little kid from Charleston can throw it all over the place. MJ Washington had 2 running touchdowns, 1 receiving, and he returned an interception 80 yards. So he had a pretty good game for him. Jeremiah Jacobs, who's their leading tackler and rusher, had 10 carries for 144 yards and a touchdown, a big win over there. He had an 18-yard fumble recovery, too. Yeah, he probably played 60 plays, bless his heart. He's a warrior there. Oh, that's why OCLO's running. Number 2, Warren's running the Lumberjacks. I know they knocked out the motherland. Pocahontas got sent home 35-6 after a long trip. I heard that Warren threw some pizzas in. I said
they did, and they were a little nice. They were nice to us.
And they were nice. That was the 51st playoff win for Bo.
Uncle Bo
won 51 playoff games. He's 154-36 at home. That's because that big giant lumberjack. I bet they had losses. They got that guy. Yeah,
I saw. I got a picture of it, man. I saw.
Giant lumberjack. Yeah, it's a big deal, man. And that's an amazing run there at Warren. They got a big, huge game this week. Of course, number 1, Elkins stays at our number 1 spot, 35-16 over Mena. Mena did a good job this week trying to keep them off the field. Ran the football, but it only came up with 16 points. And Elkins averaging, well, they actually held them under their average. They're averaging 48 points a game. Ben Napier, they're getting healthy too. Walden's back. They're still a really, really explosive team. So they're going to stay in our 1 spot.
All righty. Let's head to the big schools.
Big schools. Man, did we have some movement here? Yep. There's going to be some people upset. Also, Ben's going to slide out of our top 6. Yeah.
Oh, even with the big win over Lake Hill. Wow.
They're going to slide out of there, man. And their offensive line is really good.
Yes, they are.
Man, I don't know if that guy ever gets sacked. I'd like to see the numbers how many times that guy's actually been sacked. And to tell you the truth, the only game they've really struggled with at all has been the Bryant game when both of them were turning it over left and right.
Yeah.
Benton, Drew Davis, quarterback, offensive line, defensively they're really good. Also's Valley View's in there, and our Also's Drew Gartman. Like I said, he had over 300 yards of total offense this past week. Farmington, they left it. Hey, and this guy, you know, that Coach Tice calls one of the best football players he's ever coached. The Hodge kid had 2 touchdowns this past week. That was their 300th win. So Farmington's hanging around in the semifinals. The first time in a while, by the way. Lakeside just finds ways. And I'll tell you the most impressive thing is if you go back and watch the winning play is the Oman kid's block.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is just hustling. That's just a hustle play. Wally Walcott, their quarterback, and they're just finding ways to win. And like I said, defensively, they are solid, especially on the back end of that thing. I thought Robinson had a lot of trouble moving the football against them. Shiloh's going to be in our alsos. And then, hey, you can't say enough about this bunch. Mountain Home.
Yes, sir.
How about Mountain Home?
Sir.
The Chenoweth kid, again, over 100 yards, pounding the rock, figuring a way. The travel's not bothering them.
No.
It's just something they say. It's a big week for them this week against Greenwood. It might have been a great season. I don't know. Number 6, hey, but, weird things have happened this year. Number 6 is going to be PA. PA showed this week. I think they're in the top 6 easily in the state of Arkansas. I was really impressed offensively and defense. But offensively, here's the thing that people don't. They went on like 3 10-play drives.
I know.
You don't think of PA as a 10-play drive. You think high octane and this and that. But, they can move the chains that way. And like I said, they've got some weapons. And defensively, man, they held up, especially their front 3.
And that's what impressed me the most.
Number 33, the nose guard. The nose guard is unbelievable. I think his last name's Hicks. He's an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
But they really get people to the ball. That's what's funny is they get a number of people to the ball. So they're doing a great job of hustle plays there. Number 5 is going to be Bentonville. Ever since they settled on Trevor Grant, I think it's been a rewarding thing. I think this might be Coach Grant's best job coaching.
I agree.
When he finally said, hey, I can't help it. If he's my kid, I'm going to play him because that was the deal that was made. They're physical up front. Defensively, they figured some things out in the back end. I think they're a really good football team. And here's the thing is they're going to match up. And what gave somebody problems against somebody else, they can kind of do the same thing. So that's a huge game we'll talk about later. Number 4 is going to be Conway. Grayson Wilson's back. Defensively, man, I think anybody that plays against Rogers doesn't look real good on defense, and it's nothing you can do. It's like Coach James said, heck, he was outrunning our fast guys. I mean, that was just it was amazing how good they were on offense. Got a shootout one this week, 56-49. Number 3, Parkview just keeps. I mean, wow,
well, statement game there, buddy.
Well, here's the thing too: is Coach Bowden. He's no dummy. He's finding ways to motivate these guys. He's talking about, well, we only had 9 points at half last time we played them. Really? Well, you fix that because you didn't have that at half. You had 42 this time. Just the list of kids, just their last names: Bunning, Murphy, White, Settles, Elston, Penny, and Ja'Cory Smith might be the best defensive player maybe in the state of Arkansas in a long, long time. I swear that they try to run away from the guy, and literally it's 3 steps later. He's there. You might have picked up maybe a yard or 2, and he could be on the other side of the. He's a phenomenal football player. Number 2, Greenwood. Yeah, Greenwood. Listen to this. They'd already won the game by halftime. By the way, I mean they were like they were selling tickets to the next game, the playoff. Technically at halftime.
Giving turkeys to the fans.
Here's a couple turkeys. Kids come back next week. Kane Archer, here's his numbers. Get ready for this. 14 of 15, 317 yards and 5 touchdowns. Are you ready? Are you ready for that? That was the first half. This is the first half. The guy threw 1 incompletion, by the way. All right, second half, he ends the game 18 of 20, 379 yards, 5 touchdowns. So that brings his total to, get you ready for this? 49 touchdowns on the year. He's got 46 incompletions. Did you hear that? He has 49 touchdowns. He has 46 incompletions. The guy incomplete 2 passes.
I wonder what Coach Young does. Like, it's 14 to 50. Hey, get it to him. Be more accurate.
For God's sakes, kid. I mean, what is he doing there? Yeah. And they got Carnes and those guys on the outside, the Davis kid. I mean, they're just so good. His brother had 2 sacks. One was a strip sack for a fumble. For a touchdown on a fumble recovery. They're just rolling. And, man, they are so fast on defense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can, Lake Hamilton trying to pound them and try to keep them on. It's impossible. It's bad. They can get you behind the sticks quickly. Number 1, of course, is going to be Brian Hornets. Yeah. Brian Hornets won by halftime this past week. Thrash Jr. was phenomenal in the run game. They got back to just pounding people inside. Walker hit Caleb Tucker for 2 touchdowns this week. Eli Hill still having a phenomenal year defensively. He's got over 10 sacks on the year, over 41 tackles. I'm telling you, and they're so good in the interior. When you get behind, though, it's over. I mean, if you get behind Brian and you have to throw it, and they know you have to throw it, man, they can get after the quarterback, and they can lock up in the secondary. That they were worried about it the first year because they were so young. Well, they came of age a little bit here, so they're playing really, really good right now at the right time. And like I said, they got another home game.
Yep, got another home game. Love of both lists. I think it's pretty consistent. You know, some people are moving around a little bit. Mansfield in your small school, buddy. They've earned it, and PA I think also has too. Well, let's go ahead and do this. Let's bring on our Lindsay and Associated guest picker, Hall of Famer, former head coach at Northside Conway, one of the greatest of all time. It's Coach Joe Fred Young. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jeff. It's good to be with you.
Well, you're one of my favorites, one of the legends of all time, Coach. I'm going to tell you before you get on here, pick with your brain. If you lose a few friends, who cares? I mean, it's all about the competition here, man. We're not here to make friends and influence people. Right?
I just don't want to offend the Bulldogs and my son.
Well, trust me, that won't happen, Coach. You're pretty good. You're pretty good on that one. That's the only two things that you're setting out for. You're pretty good. And by the way, Coach Young was, when I was growing up, Coach Young was, he was the guy. Our parents would actually take us to Northside games.
Oh, yeah.
Just to watch Coach Young's bunch play with the Andrews guys. And, they were just unbelievable. They get in the eye. And you knew exactly what was coming. A little ISO right there. They were just pounding people. He was a blast to watch growing up.
Things have changed.
Yes.
It's all different now.
Yes.
I get so sick at looking at film. We spend half our time coaching techniques on defense. Mm-hmm. And I go out there and watch a ball game now, and the defensive end, the defensive tackle put their hand on the ground as soon as the ball is snapped, sometimes before it's snapped, they go upfield as hard as they can go. I'd kill a guy. I'd choke him real good if he did that back in the day when we were teaching techniques.
You nailed it in that part of it. And and we're going to talk about this a little bit. And Coach, let's hit this a little bit while we're talking about it. Is talk to us a little bit about, you played in so many state championships and semifinals. I remember as a kid walking over to y'all's games there at Mayo Thompson Stadium during this time of year. What was your preparation like? Because it's different. Kids are out of school all week and things like that. What was your preparation like during Thanksgiving, the holidays, and the semifinals?
Well, things have changed a great deal. Back then, we got out on Wednesday. Thanksgiving was Thursday. Game was Friday. And then we were back to school the next Monday. My grandkids are here, and they're off all next week. Yeah. And it wasn't like that back then. Of course, we didn't start school till the 1st of September, and we got out the last of May. They don't do that anymore.
No. Yeah. Yeah. That preparation part, that's right. You played on Wednesday, so your routine wasn't any different. Well, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it. We actually got 12 games. There's so many great ones this week. Obviously, playoffs and that part of it. I want to make this announcement again so everybody knows your coach is working for free this week, ladies and gentlemen. He's actually supposed to be on vacation, but he loves your kids so much that he's going out there and coached them. Everybody else, he's working for free on his vacation. So before you yell at a coach this week, don't do that. The guy's working for free on his vacation. So take it easy on those guys a little bit. You know how it goes. All right.
And half the time he's probably feeding your kid too.
Yeah, he's feeding them too. Yeah, let's give him a break.
Feed them too.
Yeah, the guy's on vacation. All right, here we go, guys. Let's get into it. 3A, which we've talked about this all year long a little bit. We've got Boonville headed over to Fordyce. Fordyce has rolled that conference. Boonville, it obviously is finished number 2 in the league behind Mansfield, but that league's obviously looking through the play. It's been a pretty tough league.
The thing about it, Fordyce likes a bunch of offense. Okay. Yeah. Normally they're going to have 12, 14 possessions during the game. With Boonville, they're going to be lucky to get 7 or 8, So that's, I really look for that to be a great ball game. But I think Boonville's going to win. Again, little home cooking because it's not far from here in Fort Smith down to Boonville.
Coach Jones, go them. Daryl, break this down for us a little bit.
Well, here you got two teams that are combined 23-1, by the way. You got Boonville coming off a 35-13 win over Mayflower. Jason Washburn, like I said, threw 2 touchdown passes last week. So Doc kind of opened it up a little bit. Dylan Todd, defensive guys playing without an ACL, by the way. Yeah. ACL's blown. Dudes that are making plays. He was player of the game this past week. They had a huge statement drive, like I said earlier. They had a 10-play, 93-yard drive where Hunter Warren carried it 9 times. He ended up with 31 carries on the night for 211 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game against Mayflower, which Mayflower had struggled all year long to stop the run. Probably wasn't a great matchup for them facing Boonville. You got Fordyce getting to play at home, too. They had coming off a big 46-8 victory over Jessieville. They lost their quarterback in that early. Xavier Jones stepped in at quarterback. He was he carried it 8 times for 61 yards and a touchdown. He also threw it 9 out of 13 times for 79 yards, only 1 interception on that. Sophomore running back Micah Gamble had 12 carries for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. They are extremely explosive. We've seen that kind of like what Mansfield did to Boonville a little bit speed wise, but Tradition doesn't graduate on both of these teams. That's what's crazy. Yeah, and you start looking, Fordyce has got a kind of a mix of young kids, too, on this team and getting to play at home, a playoff game here. Boonville will travel well. They're not going to turn it over. Like Coach says, they're not going to be very many possessions in this game. So Fordyce, even if they score fast, they might not get it back. So I'm going to take Boonville in this one.
Taking Boonville. Fimp's taking Boonville. Mouth, what do you think about this one?
It's going to be a game of contrasting styles.
Yeah.
The question for Boonville is, will they allow the Cadillac to get out of park?
That's the truth.
Will the big Fleetwood Cadillac be rolling, or can Boonville hold him down with Coach Doc? He showed a little bit. Giving Fordyce something to think about, threw the ball a little more than he usually does Friday night. So, I am going to go with Fordyce in this.
Oh, Mouse going with Fordyce. I'm with Coach Young on this one. You're talking about possessions getting limited, long bus ride. Everybody's off all week, so everybody should be rested up. I'm going to go with Boonville. Also, I think that league has proven they're very good. Fordyce has got a great football team, but I'm going to go with them. All right, heading to North Arkansas, Daryl, we've got the Rivercrest Colts, who dominated last week against Rising, and then you got Salem, who picked off Prescott, who's been dominant in that league for a long time on the Hail Mary. Daryl, break this one down for us.
Well, Salem got Caden Brink back. They got Kagan Sanders, who's leading the state of Arkansas in sacks with over 15. He's got 15 sacks in the year. So they can get after the quarterback here. Now, I don't know if they've seen a quarterback quite like Rivercrest has gotten Cavante Washington. Washington, like I said, went over the all-time total yards guy in Rivercrest history this past week. He had 209 yards and a touchdown through the air, 46 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Jaden Young, big play guy. I mean, they got so many guys on the outside. Buddha Harris, who is constantly getting, I swear, I think last week they had 3 guys on. It's just straight bracket, hold hands. It's just try to keep him from catching the ball. And that's just opening up some more weapons they've got. Their defense, that's the scary thing about Rivercrest. They kind of bend but don't break defense. You hope that they can control the Salem running right at them, because Salem's going to run right at them, and they're going to run right at them a lot. And that's another game. It's going to be a possession game. Like Coach Woods talked about last week. If you get behind in this game, do you press and try to throw the long ball and all that good stuff? So I think Rivercrest is going to have to. They're going to have to score different ways than just anything, and then. Is Salem going to punt it to them?
That's the question.
That's the question. Might want to just punt it out of bounds, shank one, whatever you need to do.
Or go for it.
Yes, go for it. Fourth and whatever. So this will be interesting. I'm going to take the Colts.
Taking the Colts.
I'm the Colts fan, man. I'm going to ride or die with the Colts.
I got Mouth. You've been over there to God's country over there in Mississippi County. You've been over to see Coach Fleming and those guys in Salem. Those a Hail Mary, and they're moved on. This ought to be a great one. It
should be. Cavante Washington just keeps doing Cavante Washington things. Buddha Harris just keeps being Buddha, and the punt returner leads the nation in punt returns. So they're a well-rounded team. I will go with. I am going to go with the Colts.
Going with the Colts. All right, Coach Young, you're familiar with Rivercrest. Salem has got healthy, took out Prescott last week. This ought to be an interesting game. Coach Young, your thoughts?
Well, it looks to me like it's offense versus defense.
Yeah.
And normally I'd take the defense, but I'm going with Rivercrest.
Going, Coach Young, it's going with Rivercrest. Here's what concerns me with this one. It goes back to the Osceola game. And we always talk about being strong up the middle.
Yeah.
And the Osceola game showed us we weren't strong up the middle. We went back to work the next few weeks. We've got a little bit more physical. That's going to be a test, but I can't go against the Rivercrest Colts. I believe in those guys. I feel like they're going to go a long way. All right. This one here, this is a marquee matchup. My gosh. And this is going to come down last. You got Osceola traveling to Bismarck. I got to watch Bismarck quite a bit last week against Atkins. Very impressed with them. They can run, physical. Osceola, Coach Gray, Coach Hooks, and them done a phenomenal job going on the road. But we're high on the Seminoles, but Bismarck Lions are tough also. Daryl?
Well, what's going to be interesting is, Bismarck, Osceola, the past game has been, Charleston put 28 points on them this past week. Of course, they gave up 50. MJ Washington had 4 touchdowns in that game for Osceola. Jeremiah Jordan Jacobs is phenomenal. He's a great running back, but he's probably a better defensive guy than anything else. I mean, he can get sideline to sideline in a hurry. He had an 18-yard touchdown fumble recovery that he caused. And then he had 10 carries for 144 yards this past week against Charleston. And Osceola on offense, they can grind it out. They're really good inside. That's where they beat Rivercrest, the last time they played here. They go to Bismarck, who, just be honest with you, they got Ben Keithley back. Cademan Keithley's, he single-handedly beat Prescott by himself. And Coach Keithley has done a phenomenal job. You've got one of those Cinderella stories. You got a home game. They've already won their 11th game. Everything's icing on the cake. Osceola is going to come in there with all their tradition, and Bismarck's just creating their tradition as we go. So this is going to be a huge one. They got a big win last week. They put up 55. Both teams scored over 50 this past week in their first round games. I think Charleston's a little bit better than Atkins. So I'm going to go with Osceola on the road to beat Bismarck, but I would not be surprised if this is one of those field goal late games. Maybe grind it out and score late. Whoever wins this game, I don't see this being a blowout. I see both teams being really, really competitive. Like I said, it might be one of the better games that night. I'm going to go with Osceola.
Go with Osceola. I don't think there's any doubt about that. All right, Mouth, your thoughts on this one? I mean, golly, this is going to be a great game.
What a way to spend Friday night in Bismarck, Arkansas.
I guarantee it.
Hey, I didn't say this, but Ben Keithley he had 7 touchdowns total in that game.
Oh my God.
Last week. He had 5 rushing touchdowns and 2 through the air. Yeah. Remember, he didn't play against Prescott. He was hurt. We played some guy we got off the street that played phenomenal. Some sophomore. He did a fantastic job. I think they moved him back to wide receiver, though.
Okay. All right, Mal.
All right, let me tell you. I'm going to break this down just as simple as I can. Osceola will be coming from when the second they crank up the bus, they'll put the windows halfway down and they'll have the jukebox playing the John Anderson song, "Oh, Seminole Wind," and they're going to play that all the way down to Bismarck. And when they get off the bus, they'll still be playing, and John Anderson will be singing just a swinging while he's singing the other song and eating chocolate while he's on the front porch eating chocolate pie. The Seminoles are going to be getting ready. Bismarck, the Keithley brothers have had a fantastic, fantastic year. They're fantastic. But I'm just going to have to tell you, I got to go with the Osceola Seminoles. You know why I'm going with Osceola Seminoles?
Why is that?
Their defensive coordinator, Butch Gray. If you got to have a defensive coordinator to make one stop, my money's on Butch Gray.
I agree with that 100%. All right, Coach Young, this is interesting. Bismarck has been rolling all year long, got a great player back. Osceola, Robert Hooks, and that bunch of just rolled through probably the toughest 3A league in the state. What's your thoughts?
Looking back at the season, they're both very similar. Yeah, I think you can throw the names in a hat and shake it together and pull one out. So what I pulled out was the home team.
Coach Young's going with Bismarck. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I can see it. I'm going to go back to what the mouth said. Is Butch Gray. I think he's made a big difference for Osceola this year, and I think he's been in big games, and I think he's going to come up with a good plan. But I think you're right, Daryl. It's going to come down to the wire. All right, headed over to the River Valley here. Probably one of the two best players on both teams, two of the best quarterbacks in the state of Arkansas. We got Arkadelphia, who's been dominant. Headed over to Dardanelle, who Vega was one of our player of the week earlier this year. And the big deal about them, nobody's saying anything. They just hung 50 up last week against Mena.
Yeah. Dardanelle beat Prairie Grove last week, 52-27.
Yeah.
They won their first conference title since 2016. They went 2 years there, where I think they might have won 4 games. So they've been waiting on this year to come. And like I said, that it starts and ends with Creed Vega. Their offensive line's really good too.
Yeah.
And they've got some weapons on the outside. Defensively, it's a group effort. Last week, check this out. Our guy Finkbinder, the linebacker, had 17 tackles. Hunter Anderson had 16 tackles. Gabe Burst had 10 tackles. Trey Robertson had 11 tackles. And in Prairie Grove, it's a physical game there. Yeah. So they showed that they were pretty physical in that game, had 3 sacks between those 4 guys. Arkadelphia's coming here. Bryson McCoy, he was 11-16 for 231 yards, 4 touchdowns, beat Gentry convincingly, 46-14. Braden Wagner's their go-to guy, had an 80-yard receiving touchdown, a 92-yard receiving touchdown, ran for 1. They've got weapons on the outside too. They also returned a 7-yard interception. We're getting in part of to the playoffs where you're seeing fumbles, scoops and scores, pick sixes, any kind of change of possession, you get an extra one because everybody's so good. Then you get behind possession wise, and that's the case here. Vega, he had a mild-mannered game last week. He had 208 yards rushing. He had 219 yards passing. He had 3 tackles. Dad, I don't know why we got him in tackling people. We got to keep this guy fresh a little bit. Rod Chayton is his outside guy there, who also had 2 interceptions, but he got 145 yards from Vega for 2 touchdowns. Vega on the year, I had to do some math. So this is Alma math. I had to take my shoes off on this one. Creed Vega, total offense, 3,554 yards and 46 touchdowns. You just hear that?
Jeez,
it's somebody's career seriously. It's somebody's career. 46 touchdowns. Think about that, man. That's crazy to me. Arkadelphia, like I said, they've got a great quarterback too. Defensively, they're really good too. It's going to be a battle of that there. Arkadelphia's at home. They've been there. Can't wait to see how they try to slow Dardanelle down. Do you send a spy? Do you have anybody that can catch him?
That's exactly.
That's the biggest part is who your spy is going to be. He's going to make them look foolish. And you got to think Dardanelle has seen a lot, probably going through that league, trying to slow him down, and nobody's been successful doing it here. I think, and this is kind of crazy because I really like Arkadelphia. I'm going to go with Sand Lizards.
Oh, go with the Sand Lizards.
I think the fight in Vegas keep continuing to go, man. I think this might be the Cinderella story right here.
Kind of been quiet.
And then again, if it's like last week, I'm dead wrong.
All right, Matthew, you've been over to Dardanelle. You've met Mr. Vega. You've been to Arkadelphia too. 2 player of the weeks, Coaches of the Mouth player of the weeks, battling it out this week. Your thoughts?
Yes, shout out to both those young men, Creed Vega and Bryson McCoy, for being. You stole my thunder, Coach Williams.
I'm sorry, man.
Coaches of the Mouth Player of the Week. But that's okay. We're equal opportunity. Is Bryson McCoy? Is he a sophomore or a freshman, Daryl?
He's a sophomore. He's a sophomore.
The baby-faced assassin. He just keeps throwing touchdowns. Now this is going to be a great game right here. I think this game's going to come down to Arkadelphia's defensive front. Can they get enough pressure? Can they slow down Creed Vega? Because nobody slowed Creed Vega down all year. 3,500 yards, 49 touchdowns. I don't know what the score will be here. It could be 49-47 for all. But I am going with Arkadelphia in this one.
The Mouth's going with Arkadelphia. Coach, Coach Young, this features two of the top players in the state of Arkansas, two great quarterbacks and phenomenal team. Your thoughts? Arkadelphia's been there before. Now just keeps winning.
Well, it looks like I'm not sure what Arkadelphia's record is, but I think it comes to mind. They started out playing against some real tough competition, took a couple of losses early. Then when they got in conference, they started playing really well against people in their own division. From that point, and only that point, I'm going to have to pick Arkadelphia to win this one.
Yeah, I'm a coach on this. I'm going to go with Arkadelphia. I think this could be a close one. I think that their league's been a little bit tougher, but I tell you what, if you want to see two phenomenal football players play, tune into that one. But I'm going to go with Arkadelphia also. All right. Headed up to Northwest Arkansas. You got Johnny Fogelman coming in with Malvern. Hey, 1 point win against Pottsville, dominates Highland last week. Headed up to Elkins, who's our number one team in small school. If anybody can pull the upset, it's Johnny Fogelman and the Malvern Leopards. Talk to us a little bit about this one, Daryl.
Well, Malvern's 11-1.
Yeah.
And
that's all it does, man.
Lee's talked about 11-1 team we've talked about all year. Beat Highland last week 34-7. Bishop Allen had 3 touchdowns. He threw two touchdowns to Louis Jamie, one for 20 yards and one for 21 yards. Tavion Clegg had 2 rushing touchdowns, an 8-yard and a 90-yarder. That's right. He's a pretty explosive guy there at Malvern. Elkins, like I said, they're rolling in here, averaged about 48 points a game. They beat Mena last week, 35-16. Mena did a good job of kind of controlling possessions there. Ben Napier, Joaquin Walden's back, Isaiah Haywood on the outside for Elkins. Elkins is extremely explosive, and they get to play at home.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing for them too. Is that they haven't had to travel very far at all, even in their league. So I'm going to take Elkins at home in this one.
Daryl's taking Elkins at home. All right, Mouth, this is interesting. Johnny Fogelman doing Johnny Fogelman things, as you say. If anybody can pull the upset off, it's him.
Yes. And what Elkins has done this year is just fantastic. They have been superb since the opening game of the season, and they have not. Their excellence has not changed. You're putting this one up, putting me on the spot here, Jim. Malvern's got to overcome an awful hard bus ride to Elkins. There's no two ways about it. But I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take the Malvern Leopards. Coach Johnny.
Go with the upset. The Mouth is right there. All right, Coach Young, you're familiar with these teams. Malvern, Johnny Fogelman's first year back there is he just knows how to win. Going against Coach Zach Watson, a tough Elkins team's been ranked number 1 since week 2. This ought to be a great one, Coach Young.
Well, Zach was a coach on Chris's staff at Greenwood.
Yes,
before he went to Elkins. They were successful last year. I thought they'd drop off this year, but it's apparent to me that they have not dropped off. Offensively, they can run it and they can throw it and catch it. that's a pretty good combination, but it's up against a good defensive team. I'm going to have to pick Elkins. So,
all right, Coach Young's going with Elkins. I'm going to go with Elkins also. They've just proven it, and but if anybody pull upset off, it's Johnny Fogelman. He'll keep it tight. All right, head up, staying up here in Northwest Arkansas. The semifinal game right here. We got Lakeside at Farmington. And before we do that, let's bring on Farmington head coach, Coach Tommy Tice. Coach, you are the thick of the news this weekend. Talk to us, number one. We'll get into this. 300 wins. That's unbelievable accomplishment. But I know you're more concerned about the Lakeside Rams right now. But talk to us a little bit about last Friday night and just the excitement. You know, we're going to get into about the season a little bit, but the excitement you had winning your 300th win, but also stamping the ticket going to the semifinals and playing on Thanksgiving, which you know how to do, and you've done it many times.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, any milestone in your life makes you reflect on the people that got you there. It's not about me. It's about people like yourself and Barry Lunny and all those relationships I've had with such many coaches over the year. I think of people like, Ronnie Clark and Frank Bynes and those guys. But it also makes you reflect on players and assistant coaches, administrators that maybe took a chance on you, and they sure took a chance on me here at Farmington. And I can't say enough about Mr. LaFoon and Bo Thompson, and I appreciate the fact that they brought me here. And I hope they're not disappointed about the job they've had so far.
Well, they can't be disappointed at all. I mean, we're moving on, sitting there one game away from the state finals. Coach, let's get into this a little bit. And I talked to you earlier in the season, and now you've kind of gone through it. You got in there late, and I know you as well as anybody, and building relationships is such a big key to the way you've ran your programs. You got in there late. You had to hire a lot of guys on your staff, and then trying to get those relationships built where they're believing in what you're saying. And it looks like, hey, y'all done a phenomenal job and keeping that thing on track, win a conference championship. Talk to our audience just about going in the process every day of getting people to trust you.
Well, that's the big thing. And trust is a big word. And you say, your program's built on trust, but you have to show it. You have to prove it. And their problems are your problems. And I just want to be, when they bury me, I want them to say that I tried to help people. And so, that's the big thing, one-on-one with each player and each coach, and I'm sure some of them were saying to themselves, this guy for real,
Yeah.
And I understand that. And you got to do it every day. And you've got to bring the enthusiasm every day to show them that, we told them, we just want this to be the highlight of your day every day. And of course, it's easy to say this now, but one of the kids called me the other night and said, Coach, I'm just having the time of my life. And I said, well, I'm pretty well enjoying it too at the moment myself. But we walked in that meeting room and there were a lot of questioning faces, what to expect from us. They did not know us. You can say, well, your career and this, they don't care anything about your career. They want to know how you're going to help them win football games and, how are you going to treat them? And, that's the thing that I set out from day one, to be genuine with them, be honest with them, whether it be in a good situation or maybe a negative situation, but be honest and be consistent, with how we handled them and how we dealt with it. Of course, I was very, very fortunate, Jeff, that I got to bring Mark Watley with me. And people are quickly understanding why I've said from the get-go that Mark Watley is by far the finest offensive coordinator that I've ever dealt with. And he's doing things that, our kids have totally bought into. They were concerned. They had a great offense the last year with Gio Simon at the helm, and he had moved on. And so, Mark, we just plugged him in. And we kept some things that they had done in the past, and we ushered things in slowly. We didn't come in and say, we're going to change everything about this program. Well, that had been stupid. I mean, the discipline of the program had been established. Coach Eldridge had done a super job. It wasn't like we were walking into a situation where the cupboard was bare or the inmates were running the asylum, that was not the case. And I can't say enough things about those two guys. And then we got to hold over Casey Moreland, the defensive coordinator. So there was no changes in the defense at all. And, they had pretty good defense, and he's a great coordinator. And then we got to adding people. And how do you get to add a Bill Harrelson? I mean,
I know.
Gosh, one of the all-time great coaches in Arkansas. And he was he was antsy to get back in. So we were a perfect fit for Bill. And, of course, Jared Jackson, the offensive line coach, he's just done a phenomenal job. And we have a young man on staff named Walker Cheevers that works with our receivers. Then we had holdovers in Jay Harper and Clint Scrivener that just the defense, we were really concerned at one point because we'd lost a really good coach in Coach Scrimshire to Springdale. And then all of a sudden, Bill Harrelson popped out of the blue, and now you got Casey Moreland with linebackers, Bill Harrelson with the defensive backs, and Jay Harper with the front four. I mean, my gosh, I don't know how many people. And this is the honest truth. I have never worked on a finer staff, and I've worked on some good staffs, but I've never worked on a finer staff than this one.
Well, and you nailed that. And let's get into your ball club. I mean, you're sitting there talking about Watley future Hall of Famer, Bill Harrelson, future Hall of Famer. And of course, Casey Moreland, his track record speaks for itself. Talk to us a little bit about this. You started the season, played Harbor, gave up points, blah, 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 kind of down the road, and really gotten that defense tightened up. But I really think the Greenbrier game's one of the games, boy, they really stood out and really played well down the stretch. And then on the other side of the ball, you got the Magic Lester over there that can just do everything. And Mark Watley is just dialing it up. Talk to us a little bit about the progression of your defense, your offense, and then we're going to talk a little bit about special teams at the end.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing defensively is that, like I said, it was a holdover system completely. And I told Casey that when we first met, I want you to run this. I want you to do it how you want to do it. It's what the kids are used to. And I think, as you say, you can see that it has improved. We get in the ball game. You take the ball game at Morrilton. The attitude. I mean, we're giving up. Both teams. It's it's an unbelievable track meet going on. And the thing on our sideline, there was no panic. Defensively, they continued to play hard. Morrilton is a tremendous offensive football team, and that night that boy could have thrown it in a swinging jug with the lid on it. And they caught everything. They could have caught an aspirin in a hailstorm. But our defense hung tough, and we stopped an extra point try, a 2-point try. We blocked an extra point, and we intercepted 3 passes. And that was the turning point really in the game, was our defense. And they didn't get their head down. They came back, you look at the next weeks that we played. Well, we played Clarksville. We played Alma down there, give up a touchdown. We played BB, didn't give up anything till late in the game. Then last week against Fairview, after halftime, we don't give up a point.
Yeah.
Now we are the king of giving up yardage on trick plays. So we're going to spend more time on trick plays. But no, our defense, Morgan Shader in the middle, Jockwell Brown up in the front, along with Taylor Conrad up there. And then in the back end, you've got Brandon Clark. Those guys are battle tested. And that's the one thing, too, Jeff, about this entire team. We are battle tested.
Yeah.
Shiloh and Harbor, you say, well, Harbor didn't have a great year, but it's still a 7A football team.
Yeah.
We've been hit as hard as you can be hit. And then we come through that stretch of Greenbrier, Harrison, Morrilton, and Bologna. And we had to go to Bologna and Morrilton, play down there. We've been behind. We've come from behind. We've been in front. And I said at the start of the season, I said, what kind of ball club you got? And I said, I don't know what kind of ball club we got at all. I haven't been in any situations with them.
Yeah.
I haven't been on a bus ride. I haven't been to, eat a meal at a restaurant with them on the road. I don't know how they're going to act and react to anything. We kept hitting them with the old cliches that, marks of a champion are poise and confidence. And we hit them every week with that. And we also hit them with the fact that you need to make your mama proud. And, I think those things have always been important. and I think they always will be. But defensively, we've got an outstanding defensive football team.
Well, you do. And then, you look on offense and you got one of the top quarterbacks in the state, and he's just running around making plays everywhere. Got some great receivers. I tell you what really impressed me last week was your offensive line. Ran the ball when you needed to. Talk a little bit about those guys in your offense.
Well, offensive line, we felt like that when they grew up, because we have 2 sophomores and a junior up there, and most of the time 2 juniors and 2 sophomores, and we play 1 senior, and that senior has developed into a tremendous leader and tremendous player, Hayden Bentley, and he leads on sweeps and traps and things like that. And I want to tell you something, Jeff. He's kind of like you. He's got a little mean streak in him, especially when the ball snapped. He likes to hunt people up and have contact. But the offensive line has just been remarkable. We played by far our best game the other night when we played Camden Fairview.
Well, and let's talk about it. I mean, I thought the turning point in that game was the fake field goal down there yard down 7. Boom. You talked about it earlier in the week, talking to, special teams. And that's the play, those plays like that. The playoffs are so huge. Y'all run the fake field goal on 4th and 5, tied up, and just changed the momentum of that game against Camden Fairview.
Well, as you know, fakes on field goals and punts, it's all about timing and not giving those things away. So we had it set up. I had told the team we could not trade field goals for touchdowns. And Coach Wally said, well, you want to line up and go for it? And I said, no, fake field goal. This is the perfect time for it. And worked out really well for us. And, of course, we have practiced that every week, and everything, like I say, is about timing in any kind of fake situation. You just can't give it away,
Well, no doubt. All right, let's talk about the Lakeside Rams. Coach Rockwell over there has done a great job with these guys the last 2 years, especially this year. I got to watch a lot of them last week. They got a running back, looks like John Riggins from the old Washington Redskin days. He could lay the run of the counter, and Coach Rockwell and them play great on defense. They don't give up a lot of points. You know what they're going to do. Got a tall receiver. You guys are playing as well as anybody. They're playing pretty hot too, because that's why you're sitting in the semifinals. Talk to me a little bit on the short time that you've got to watch film on. Talk to me a little bit about Lakeside and the problems they present.
Well, the number one thing that you see about them is that they are extremely well coached.
Yeah.
This is as fine a coached football team as I think I've ever seen. They are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. They are so disciplined, and they like contact, and they run to the football really, really well. And people have had trouble scoring points on them. I don't know if we can score any or not, because they're going to be between us and the goal line. There's no doubt about that. But this is an outstanding team. The running back, John Riggins, good name for him.
Yeah, it looks just like him, man.
He's powerful at the line of scrimmage, but he's fast when he breaks it.
Yep.
Well, of course, they got a veteran quarterback and an outstanding receiver. Offensive line, one of them's going to Arkansas. He's a full-blown man. And, so they present lots of problems for our defense. Offensively, here's the thing. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. It's going to be a matter of execution and effort. That's what it's going to boil down to. And, hey, I like our team. I like our chances, but I know we're against a formidable foe.
Well, you do. Coach, how many times have you coached in the semifinals? I know, it's been a bunch. You've been there. I know back when you were at Harrison, every year you're there. Talk to our audience a little bit how special it is to play on Thanksgiving. And then how do you, and this is a good question for you, because you've done it a bunch. I think the hardest week to coach is Thanksgiving week. It's a lot of fun, but all the distractions, the holidays, and you got the biggest game of the year sitting right in front of you. How do you get your team focused and talk to us a little bit about practicing on Thanksgiving?
Well, the one thing, of course, after any victory, we try to tell our team, you're real popular right now. Everybody's your friend. A winner has 1,000 fathers. A loser's an orphan. You don't have to worry about those attractions. You're getting beat. But the main thing I have always tried to tell them is be humble or stumble. And this is a great week for it. It's Thanksgiving week. Be thankful that you're a ball player. Be thankful that you had the opportunities that you've had, and that you also got some in front of you. If we'll hone in on those things, same things are important. Focus on the moment. Focus right now. What happened yesterday will not help you. What happens tomorrow will not help you. Focus on the moment, play in the moment, and care about your teammate more than you care about yourself. And if you do those two things, you'll be ready to play. It won't matter when we play.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Coach, happy Thanksgiving. Real proud of you. Congratulations on the 300th win. I know the boys, they congratulate you. They were all fired up for you Friday night. And hey, we're looking forward to it. It ought to be a great game this coming Friday.
Well, here's the deal, Jeff. Those 300 wins, I still lead the state in losses. So, that's enough. That's enough humility for anybody right there.
That's all. Well, you know what? You swung at it all the time and you've hit 300. So you're doing pretty good. Ted Williams will be proud of you, though.
Well, Ed could hit the curve. I had a lot of trouble with the curve.
I got, well, Coach, hey, get back to it, man. Look forward to watching you Friday night.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate y'all.
All right, you guys, you see it. Coach Tice is, excited about the 300 wins, but he's got bigger things in front of him. Phenomenal game. I thought that they probably played as well as anybody last week. Lakeside goes to Robinson, who they were defeated by earlier in the year, plays a great defensive game, just plays their game, ends up winning. Farmington dominates a Fairview team that we were really hot on last week. Daryl Breakisson down.
And got behind in that game.
Sure did. Down 14-0.
Yeah, came back and got that thing settled. Coach Ty, just listen to him. He wants 301.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he wants 301. There's no doubt in my mind that guy wants 301. Lakeside, solid team all year long, 10-2 on the year. Coach Rockwell's done a phenomenal job. They just find ways to win. First time to be in the semifinals at Hot Springs Lakeside in 1975.
Jeez almighty, get the guy raised.
That was the year I was born.
Yeah.
49 years ago, man.
Jeez almighty.
Yeah. Semifinals, first time since 1975. Yeah. It's Rockwell Field. Right? Yeah. They in the field, everything. Wally Walcott last week had a 49-yard touchdown to end the game there. Probably the most impressive thing was the hustle shown by the Ullman kid running down to set up a block.
That guy looks like John Riggins, man.
I'm telling you.
He looks like John Riggins.
Hey, I've never seen him get caught.
No.
I don't know what. I think he's just one of those gamers. I'm sure you could take him out of the parking lot. He might run a 4.9 or 4.8. You put him on the pads, he's running like a 4.5 away from people. He's a great high school player, that's for sure. They sealed that game on an interception there at the 35-yard line on the Haywood. Zach Haywood sealed that game over Robinson. Like I said, they have just figured out ways to win. They played really well 3 quarters, actually 4 quarters with Parkview. Them and Camden both did. This is at Farmington. Like I said, the Bird's Nest up there, they are excited about football right now at Farmington. Got a big win, 42-21 last week over Camden Fairview. Coach Tice's 300th win. Aiden Lester, 323 total yards. He had 117 yards rushing. Russell Hodge had 14 carries for 57 yards. He had 4 catches for 87 yards. Luke Elsick ran it 18 times for 64 yards. Aiken Johnson had 3 catches for 68 yards on the year in the game for Farmington. It's just a back and forth game, but I thought that Farmington's defense finally settled down there a little bit, figured out some things. Daryl Atkinson, still had a good job, and then of course. I think that's a veteran coaching thing is that our special teams are really good. They're not going to lose a game on special teams. Matter of fact, there's somebody over there at the hill that might need to walk down there and talk to Coach Tice about special teams. Get rid of the Australian kickers. I can tell you he ain't got one. Anyway, Farmington's at home. Like I said, what a story here. Man, it's hard to pick against Lakeside, though. Because Lakeside just keeps finding a way. And every time we count out Farmington, they're going to have trouble with this. They're going to have trouble with the speed. They're going to they find a way to win because they got a dude at quarterback. Aiden Lester makes plays on offense. He makes people around him better, which is a great skill to have for anybody in any sport. If you can make the people around you better and they believe in that dude, I can tell you, they got down 14-0 and you felt like, hey, Farmington's okay. They'll figure it out. It's just a matter of time. And sure enough, they did. And that's why I think, hey, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I'm going to go with 301 right here. I'm going to go Farmington at home. Lakeside makes the trip. I think it'll be one of those gritty games until the end. Might even be an overtime game. I see this might be going a little overtime right here.
I can see this. I can say, Mouth, you've been over to Farmington with Coach Tyson. You've seen Lester in action.
I have. I got one thing to say about this game. Hot Springs Lakeside, as the old Rockwell song says, somebody's watching me. That's right. Coach Tommy Ty said the Farmington Cardinals are watching you, baby, and they're going to have a plan. They're going to have Aiden Lester ready to rock and roll. Coach Watley's going to have a great plan on offense. I'm going with the Cardinals.
Going with the Cardinals. All right, Coach Young. Lakeside's been phenomenal on defense all year. Got a great running game, big receiver. Coach Tyson's got a quarterback that can make it happen. What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm not sure about the ball game. The thing concerns me more than anything with the guy his age and my age. How does he plan his potty breaks and naps around a 4-hour football game?
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, let me ask you a question. Probably Lakeside, the first time back to semi since 1975. I want to say Chick Austin was coaching that back in.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Probably right. But I'm gonna pull for Tommy one more game. I'm going with Farmington. Although I agree with you. I think this is going to be a great football game.
Oh, I think so too. All right. This is back and forth. And I'm just going to tell you, I think there's something magical going on in Farmington. I'm going to go with Farmington also. And I think they're at home and just things are right. But Coach Walkwall and that bunch at Lakeside, they will be ready to play. It will be a great game. Getting a home. I
think
game.
Coach Tice had on like 17 jackets.
Oh, he was trying to, yeah.
Had a little cold last week.
Just we gotta
get that guy warmer over there.
Did you see him take the microphone after the game?
He was fired up. It's that George Jones song.
Yeah.
You don't need your rocking chair.
That's exactly right.
Your pit of care. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Coach Tyson's song right there. If he needs a rocking chair, he needs to put it out there on the sideline. That might motivate some folks.
Yeah. He might throw it up in the bleachers. No, that guy.
He's also going to get Coach Young called. His boy might hire him next week to run the defense.
That's exactly right. All right. Here we go. This one right here I've been waiting for all year long. Just been waiting for the matchup. We got Parkview, who just dominated Maumelle. Straight statement game. Headed over to God's country, over to Valley View. Valley View's got great speed. Valley View played real well last week in the overtime win over Morton. Parkview's been dominant. I think this could be a game a little bit. Daryl, break it down.
This is at Valley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Valley gets a home game here. Beat Morton last week, 49-42 in overtime. Here's the funny thing. They gave up 600 yards and you felt like that was all right. You understand? They gave 600 yards of offense up to Morrilton and you think, man, they played pretty good defense. That's how good Morrilton is on offense. Drew Gartman last week totaled almost 300 yards of total offense, threw for 216, ran for 87, had 3 touchdowns in that game. Parker King had an 11-yard touchdown run, a 59-yard touchdown reception, and ran a kickoff back.
Yeah.
For Valley View, which was kind of the changing point in that game. Andrew Jones had 5 catches for 103 yards. Valley View is really impressive too because their skill guys can run in space. Now, here's the difference between Parkview. Parkview's they're starting to play them guys both ways.
I know.
Yeah. You got Jace White back here at free safety. He's a pretty looking dude back there at safety. Linebacker, like I said, Ja'Cory Smith. They're going to have to figure out a way to block that guy and keep him off your quarterback. If they find out you got to, if you're behind the sticks and you're throwing it, they're bringing that dude. He had 2 sacks last week. Emmanuel Bunning hit his favorite target, Jermaine Penny, last week on a screen pass for 33 yards. They stick in Quentin Murphy back at quarterback. He runs in 2 untouched. You got Settles and Elston and all these guys. And I'm telling you where Parkview's gotten better is their offense and defensive line. I mean, they are blocking the right folks. And it doesn't take much. I mean, you can just turn your hips a little bit and that guy's gone because they can score anywhere out. They went up 41-0 last week at the half. Ended up winning 48-7, and what Coach Bolden, he's got some way of motivating these guys. Back-to-back state titles is unheard of. Trying to get 3, even more unheard of. I'm sure he's going to play. Hey, we have to go on the road and show people what we got. So I'm going to take Parkview in this one in a statement game.
Oh, going with the statement game.
This is going to be a statement game.
Okay.
Valley View's up there. Yeah, hey, we want all we want until we get what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
So they'll see it firsthand. Like I said, Parkview's offensive, defensive line are picking it up playoff time.
There's no doubt. Mouth, that's not too far from your house there. Talk to us a little bit about this one.
Oh, Valley View's had a great season. Valley View's had a great season. But I'm just going to tell it like it is. Drew Gartman, really, really great, really good season, great football player. Mr. Jones, a really good wide receiver. But Valley View, I hate to tell you, turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.
You live close by their Mouth.
Yeah,
remember?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're a changing tire away from being in trouble, buddy.
I put some in your milkshake, man.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
The Bolding brothers can back me up. Big Bob and Brad can back me up.
Okay, going with All right, Coach Young, this Parkview has been dominant for the last 2 years. Obviously, one loss. Valley View's been on fire, can score, got a lot of speed at home. Coach Young, break this one down.
Well, if they scored a bunch of points last week, they're probably going to score a bunch of points this week. The danger is they blow out the scoreboard because there are going to be a lot of points scored in this game. Most of them are going to be by Parkview, though.
I'm with Coach Young on that one. This was I looked at this earlier in the year and thought, okay, and this could be a little bit of upset special. But after watching Parkview last week, I don't think there's any question. I'm going with Parkview. I think they're on a mission. All right, head to Western Arkansas right here. You got Mountain Home, who went to Catholic last week at Catholic, a little short bus ride, 3 hours, and just took care of business. And then at Greenwood, who is how many games they won in a row, Daryl? It's unbelievable at home.
They've won 69 at home.
Oh my God.
They've won 69 at home.
There's coaches that coach for 10 years ain't won that many games themselves.
Yeah, like period. Yeah. I mean, Coach Young, you ought to feel sorry for people. That guy birthed that guy. Him and his wife birthed that guy. Yeah, Chris's bunch is phenomenal. Mountain Home, first semifinal since 2006. Yeah. And if this guy doesn't win Coach of the Year, I don't know what you can do. It's phenomenal. Third trip in program history to the semifinals. Steve Aries done a phenomenal job. They beat Catholic last week, 45-14. Played really good on defense, didn't turn the ball over, handled special teams, and they handed it to Jacob Chenoweth as much as possible. And I'm sure that guy all week long, they might have him on like a scooter, wheelchair or something. He carried it 34 times for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's like 8 games he's been over 30 carries.
I know.
I mean, that's a phenomenal. I mean, his highest total is like 46 carries. I mean, so they're not scared to turn and hand to that guy. And those guys up front, they're really good inside too. Their guards and centers are really, really good. So Mountain Home, 10-2 on the year. Who would have thought that? Like I said, they travel to Greenwood with nothing to lose. All right, yeah. Nothing to lose. So Greenwood comes in there 11-0. Like I said, they've won 69 straight home wins. Their last home loss, I didn't know this till I did some research, was 2014. Guess who it was to? Yes, come on. 2014.
It's either Pine Bluff or El Dorado.
El Dorado.
Yeah.
2014. Yeah. Hey, Coach Reed got them back because they beat El Dorado this week, 48-0. Our man Kane Archer was phenomenal in the first half. Cash Archer with 2 big strip sacks. Khalil Davis had 8 catches for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. Grant Carnes, 7 touches for 155 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's 5 on the entire game. Paul Brixey, who's their leading tackler, is a phenomenal player. And like I said, defensively, they're so fast. It's unbelievable. And like I said, when you have a quarterback that literally has – the dude has I mean, he has more touchdowns than incompletions. I mean, I don't know if that's it. Even
you could go tell somebody that on the street and they wouldn't believe it.
They wouldn't believe it. I don't believe it until I see it. I'm like, going, you got to be kidding me. The guy's got 49 touchdowns. He's got 46 incompletions. They do a phenomenal job. And the guy, I mean, I know Coach Young knows, but I mean, they're watching tape at 6:00 in the morning. I'm pretty sure he's the one showing Coach Young, hey, I need to do this. We need to put this in the playbook, man, because they are really, really good. And like I said, what a town. You want to talk about Title Town right here. Greenwood knows what it's all about. And like I said, they are not letting off the gas in this one. I'm going to take Greenwood at home easily in this.
Shocker. All right, Mouth, what do you got on this one?
Mountain Home, we've had a great season. First time to the city finals since Shane Patrick took Mountain Home there. But I've got to go with the Greenwood Bulldogs.
Going with the Greenwood Bulldogs. Coach Young, you're obviously close to the program. You know, your son's the head coach here at Greenwood. Talk to us, and you get to see them every Friday night. Talk to our audience a little bit about Greenwood and their football team. You know, we'll get the stats. But Coach, what really impresses you about Greenwood?
Well, first of all, the community impresses me, but the program that was established several years ago, where kids growing up in Greenwood want to be Bulldogs, it's tradition. You know those schools that have tradition, and Greenwood has it as well or better than anyone that I know of. The coaches are all excellent coaches. They work hard. If you don't work hard at Greenwood on the coaching staff, you don't stay around very long. You go find you a job where you don't have to work quite so hard. So it's a combination of things: tradition, hard work, good support.
Well, good deal. Well, what's your thoughts on this one?
Hey, they got a pretty good head coach too, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
Mountain Home.
Or he hadn't screwed it up yet, one or the other. But yeah, he's doing
Mountain Home over the past 4 or 5 years has really come up in this world. At one time, they were kind of the doormat, whichever conference they were in. They played for the conference championship at Greenwood 2 weeks ago. Had they won that ball game, they would have been the conference champs. But I am going to be a homer. I'm going to say that Greenwood's going to win it.
A good pick, Coach. That's a good pick by you.
He's good for Thanksgiving too, Coach.
Yeah.
Well, I would coach and everybody else. I'm going with Greenwood. Mountain Home's had a phenomenal year. Now, they'll come in there with a plan. They're going to throw everything at them, but I think Greenwood's just too much.
Jeff, one thing that I did not mention, Thanksgiving, Thursday morning, half of Greenwood will be in the bleachers where they have free donuts, free coffee, and watch Thursday's preparation before they go home to have their regular Thanksgiving meal. It's unique.
It is. I might have to come down there and watch it, man. I need a donut or two.
Yeah, bring your own donuts. I've seen you eat.
Oh, good stuff. Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's head down to Central Arkansas. Another semifinal game. 6A West team. Shiloh finished second in 6A West. Headed down to Benton, and Benton's been consistent, and we've talked about them all year long. Even though you dropped them out of the top six, they've been consistent. Coach Harris has got them rolling. Shiloh's just they took care of Van Buren last week, and they're capable. I think it's a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, and Shiloh is really, really physical up front. They can grind it out. They've shown where they can throw the ball. It got 63 points last week in a 63-35 victory over Van Buren. If they're healthy, they can do a lot of things up front. They can run it. They can throw it to the perimeter and score that way. And defensively, they're really, really good. They're good up the middle. So it's really, really hard to run the ball against them. Benton is just explosive, though. I mean, they got weapons all over the field. Their offensive line is phenomenal. You've got a bunch of three-year starters on their offensive line, by the way. So they're really, really impressive that way. They can run a little bit on defense too. We've been talking all year long about Benton and Greenwood and what a game that would be. And they better watch out because Shiloh's been there, been through some trenches that way. Their kids know what it takes to win. Kind of the same tradition there, kind of like Greenwood's got going too, where they've been there and through that. Benton's getting a home playoff game too, though. That's huge. Also, during the Thanksgiving break, they beat Lake Hamilton last week, 57-14. They've shown that they could hold up against the run there. So I'm going to take Benton in a close one at home.
Benton in a close one. Matthew, you've seen this Benton bunch in action earlier this year. Shiloh's coming in pretty hot. Should be a heck of a matchup.
Shiloh better hope their physicality makes the way down from Springdale, because the Benton Panthers they exude physicality. And golly, Benton, you know how I feel about their offensive line, Coach Williams. They're beautiful people coming off the bus. They're just going, when they walk into that locker room, they got photographers for Big Men magazines that are there just taking pictures. And I am going to go with Benton and Coach Harrison. I think they've got too much firepower.
Yeah, going with Benton. Coach Young, you've seen Shiloh in action. Of course, you've seen Benton in the past. Talk to us a little bit about this one. Styles make fights, and this is one of them.
Jeff, let me preface this by saying I think the 5 best football teams in Arkansas, in no particular order, are Bryant, Conway, Greenwood, Benton, and Shiloh. Now, I have not seen Benton play, but I've talked to my son. He's seen them over the year and seen them on film. He says they're the best, and I take his word for it. Now, as far as Shiloh's concerned, when we played them back early in the year, they got tired of the second half. They had a bunch of kids playing both ways, and they definitely got a little bit tired the second half. But that's what happens when you play kids both ways. Early in the year, they get tired. As the season goes on, they gather strength and they get a little bit better each week. And by this week, they should be ready to go out there and play and not even have to stop and take a breath. They're physical. I tell you, they may beat each other together Friday night if Benton is physical as I think they are. Because they're going to get hit in the mouth by Shiloh. Through it all, though, I'll have to pick Benton.
Yeah, Coach is going with Benton. I think it's an interesting matchup. I think Shiloh defensively, what they do could give them some problems a little bit. But I think Ben's been consistent. Ben's at home. That semifinal thing's been a hurdle every now and then for them. But I feel like Benton's going to take care of business.
But the Tucker kid being able to run it too adds a little bit. They can slow it down now. They can pound it 4 or 5 yards at a whack, and they don't have to just throw it all over the place.
I think quarterback's back and all that good stuff.
Can I say something about this game?
Yeah.
I think Benton, when they're looking at Shiloh, they're going to go back and look at the Lake Hamilton film and see how Lake Hamilton was able to run it on.
Yeah, they didn't run it much. I mean, they did against Shiloh, obviously. They're going to watch that, but I just think Benton's got too much foul.
Oh, yeah.
There's too many players there. All right, let's head down and stay in Central Arkansas. Got PA, who just came off a huge win at Fayetteville, which is a hard thing to do. Really impressed with the defense, and obviously Mr. Cobb headed down to Bryant, who they faced earlier this year. Bryant's their number 1 team, has been dominant. PA's not scared of the big stage, Daryl.
Oh, gosh, no, not at all. Brandon Cobb, quarterback. Starts all with him. Number 9 in the nation in passing yards. Number 3 in the country in total yards. Because the guy can run it too. It just seems like he makes play after play. Javion Walker's their big play guy. Chase Hancock. They use so many people offensively, and a lot of times it's just him. I mean, he's just 8-9 yards back there, and he's just making play after play. And man, their offensive line has played really well. Last week, probably the most impressive victory they've had this year over Fayetteville, at Fayetteville, by the way, too. Which was, but like I said, they had 3 drives of 10 plays or more to score or set up field goals in that game. So they showed that they could move the ball with the clock, continuing to run. It's not your old people that they're going to punt. They're going to play defense. And that's what amazed me about that game was how they held up against Fayetteville, because Fayetteville been running the football.
Yeah.
And they could not block 33, the nose tackle for PA had a heck of a game, kept some of the linebackers clean too to make plays. And they're a lot faster than you think. PA's a lot faster than you think, because Fayetteville can fly, and PA was not scared of this. Now you got a whole different story though. Because we're pulling everybody, man. I mean, we're going to play action. We're going to get it over the top. Bryant's 12-0, playing at home again. Beat Cabot last week, 45-0. Jordan Walker threw 2 touchdown passes this week to Caleb Tucker, who, by the way, is a junior. Myron Thrash had 2 rushing touchdowns. Zach Curtis Jones, who's like the 3rd tailback, broke one open for 60 yards on a score. Their defense is tremendous. I mean, they can if you get behind the sticks, you're in a world, you might as well just hand it off and punt, because you put it up in the air, it's a world of trouble. The Hill kid can get after you, has over 10 sacks. McDonald kid's inside. You can't move them. I haven't seen anybody move those dudes inside. And they will just counter, trade, power. I mean, you name it. They are not scared to tell you. You watch them on film, there's about 3 plays they run, and they're all right at you. They're not shying away from contact at all. And like I said, Bryant's just phenomenal at home. I think PA, this is a great run. Coach Lucas has done a phenomenal job moving up and being competitive and winning the 2 playoff games in your first year out. That's phenomenal. But I think it ends here. I think Bryant takes this one at home.
All right, Mouth, PA and at Bryant. It's a rematch. Should be interesting.
Yeah, it was a good game 3 weeks ago. Is that when they played it?
I think so. 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah,
it was a really good game, really good. But Bryant comes out after you, and they tell you what we're going to do. We're going to run it, like Daryl said, 3 basic plays, and we're going to dare you to try to block our defensive line. Okay, and nobody's been able to do it yet on a consistent basis. So should be a really good game to watch. But I'm going with Coach Quad Sanders and the Brown Hornets.
Going Coach Quad and the Brown Hornets. All right, Coach Young. I'm gonna ask you a question before you make your pick here. You've gone in some situations over your years in big playoff games. You're the underdog, big underdog. What was your thought process going into it? I mean, all stops or what was your plan in getting everything together?
Well, we never did try to outcoach ourselves, Jeff. We went with what we've been doing with a few little wrinkles and paying particular attention to what other folks were doing. But I think if you try to outcoach yourself, sometimes it's not a real good thing. Last year when Greenwood played PA, played at PA, they had senior night. PA didn't have, I think it was 9 seniors that graduated last year. They had all those folks coming back, and I really felt like they were going to have a good football team. This will be when we find out if they're really back or not, but I don't think they are to this point, so I'm going to go with Bryant.
I'm with you. I'm with everybody. Somebody's got to prove to me they can beat Bryant. They've just been dominant. Now, I do think PA, I tell you what, and Daryl talked about their defense. They fit things really well, but the physicality up front wise is a big difference. All right, here we go, boys. Headed to Central Arkansas, small school game of the week. We've been waiting on this one right here. You got Uncle Bo and the Warren Lumberjacks took care of the Redskins, Pocahontas last week. Headed over to Mills. Mills have taken care of business in a different league. Talk to us about this, Daryl. So you're getting your outfit on here.
Well, let me tell you some stats here. You ready for this? This is the 31st playoff appearance for the Warren Lumberjack. They've got 4 state titles. They're 153-36 at home. They have a playoff record of 51-20, and they're undefeated this year at home in all games, by the way. They haven't been beat at home. They haven't been touched. Remember, he went traveling all over the place.
Yeah, but they got to go on the road. They're on the road.
Well, we'll travel with us. Their tradition is. And I'm sure we're going to bring our blow up, our guy, the Lumberjack. The Lumberjack's coming with us. Cameron Burks has settled in at quarterback. Antonio Jordan. Their defense and offensive line's playing much better than they did the first year. I think they, played some younger kids there early on. Beat Pocahontas last week 35-6. 10-2. They've won 10 straight games. Also headed to Mills here. Mills 11-0. First time they've been here in forever. They beat Clinton last week 42-10. They're only giving up 6 points a game at the Galaxy here. They were down 10 last week. Ended up scoring 42 unanswered points. Freshman quarterback phenom Elijah Moody has over 1,300. He's got 1,500 yards rushing. 17 touchdowns last week. He had 275 yards of total offense, 5 touchdowns. Chauncey Haynes is his wide receiver, had 7 catches for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chauncey also returned punt. Special teams there. Yep. Coach Lee's got them going. He's believing in it. I think he's got the kids believing this 1-0 philosophy. And he says, we haven't done anything yet. So here's the big task. They're taking on the Lumberjacks. And Lumberjacks, they're probably going to call off school. All right. And they're going to cut down some trees. It's going to be a little cold up in there. And they're going to carry their axes in there. And they're going to have a big lumberjack down there. And they're going to continue to do what Warren does. All right. Warren's winning this one. All right. Bo's making a statement. We might give up 40 points. All right. But we're going to score 55, 60 points in this game, if that's what it takes. This could be one of those 17-14 games. I don't even know if we got a kicker at Warren. All right. But we're going with the Lumberjacks. The Lumberjacks are going to swing their axe. All right into the finals right here.
All right. Well, Uncle Bo got a big one. Mouth, you
got a little pressure on you, Coach.
Yeah, got a little pressure.
Coach has got some pressure on him.
Well, Mouth, what's your thoughts on this one? Uncle Bo is very familiar with this situation. Talk to us about this. Mills is a problem.
Mills is a problem. They're a real problem. The one thing you've got to know about Warren is after starting out 0-2 and they're losing their quarterback with a broken leg, Uncle Bo's just ripped off 10 in a row.
Yep.
Is that 10 in a row? And I'm going to just tell you this. If there's one head coach I want on my side in the playoffs, because Daryl just ripped off a few minutes ago, Uncle Bo's got 51 playoff wins. Okay. But the Uncle Bo knows how to win on Thanksgiving weekend. And that won't change. I'm going Warren.
Going for Warren. All right, Coach Young, this is interesting. Warren start off 0-2. Coach Bo, Coach Emery loads up his non-conference, and then they've rolled through that conference and playing really well right now. Mills is very talented.
Again, you play those tough non-conference games. It gets you ready for your conference, and it gets you ready for the playoffs. I know Mills is an excellent football team. You don't get to this point undefeated in the season without being real good, but I think Warren is too much for him.
Coach John's going with it. I think this is going to be interesting. The battle, Cortez Lee's done a great job over there.
That guy, he knows a little bit about winning.
Yeah, he does, and he's won wherever he's going. And they matched up. It's kind of, Bo when Cortez was at Dalloway, kind of back and forth. I'm going to take the Lumberjacks. I believe in Uncle Bo. I believe that they can get it done. All right, big school game of the week right here. We're going to have some conversation about this. You got Conway, who comes off a tight victory over Rogers last week. Week 10, get beat by Bryant. Rolled Bentonville earlier this year in week 2. I think it's 42-14, something like that. Headed up to Bentonville, who is probably playing as well as anybody at 7A right now. This is a very interesting matchup. Could Conway do it again, Daryl?
It is an interesting matchup because Conway escaped. I don't think I ever really thought that they were going to get beat. It was back and forth the whole night. 56-49 over Rogers. The return to Grayson Wilson definitely showed up, and he had a 74-yard touchdown run, threw the ball well. They ran it really well. And they had some big plays in the run game with Trey Harris. He had he had a 62-yard touchdown run. He had a big 46-yard touchdown. A run that set up a touchdown. He had a 12-yard touchdown run. Blake Kordsmeyer on the outside had some big catches for Conway. And then here comes the biggest question about Conway is the defensive front. Yeah. They had a lot of trouble. Of course, everybody has with Rogers' offense. But here's Bentonville. I think, like I said, they've settled down since they've settled on a quarterback in Trevor, who last week, Bentonville West, you can say a lot about West, but offensively, they're pretty explosive. They can score some points.
And Coach Pratt had them ready to go last week.
Yes, and Coach Pratt did do a great job of having them go, but they end up Bentonville beat them 53-28. But like I said, West is really good on offense. Trevor in that game was 26-33 for 315 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chris Finklin is the running back that they go to. And Grant can throw it to 2 guys, the Oliver kid and the Seal kid on the outside. Both had touchdown catches this past week. And their offensive line's gotten better. Since the first game against Conway, they've played really, really well there. The defensive side of the ball is going to be the biggest question. It was the question in the first game was just the team speed, overall speed. And here's the thing about Conway is they don't have like a big, huge back. They got little guys that get in space and they get a seam and they're gone. So Conway, can play on that. The other thing was Conway was playing at home. All right, so now Conway's going to have to travel to Bentonville. Playing a huge game last week with Rogers, kind of an emotional back and forth game, and they survived it. Will they be focused and ready to go on this one? That's the biggest key here. But I think Conway offensively is going to be too much. I'm going to take Conway to beat Bentonville.
Taking Conway. All right.
But by the way, Coach Grant and them were 0-3 on the year. And then they started rolling. They didn't lose again. They haven't lost since the 0-3 start. And I'm sure that Coach Young's going to say about scheduling. He went out there and scheduled some people, played some away games. And I tell you, they got better and better as the year went on. It's probably his best coaching job.
I think so, and they're playing as well as anybody right now.
Yes,
they're playing.
They don't turn it over.
No,
they don't turn it over either.
They're back to what the Bentonville football. All right, Mouth, you've been up to Bentonville and you've talked to Coach Grant a lot. And then there's Uncle Buck. You got Buck James over there.
Hey,
Conway. What's the vibe in Conway?
They're good. They're feeling good about themselves. Do I have to pick this game?
Oh, you do, buddy. You're gonna lose some friends
because I'm close to both those head coaches, and they both are outstanding coaches. First of all, it's like I was at the first Conway Bentonville matchup. We're in the indoor there, and I said, Coach, I got to tell you, when I left that Conway game, I didn't think you were going to win a game. He said, I thought the same thing when I was on that Trailblazer bus getting ready to go home. He said, and then the next week it didn't get any better because we go up at least to Lee Summit, Missouri. But my hat's off to Bentonville for their team just staying together after an 0-3 start. You could have let go of the rope really, really quick. Coach Grant has done an outstanding job with that team to go 7-3 and win eight games in a row. That is a fantastic coaching job. that all being said, I think Bentonville's better than they were when they played Conway in Conway. But I think Coach James I'm taking Coach James and the Wampus Cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have lost a friend, but I'll get the love back.
Well, at least there's people question about if you have a tattoo of Buck James underneath that shirt.
On his back. It's on
I don't know. I have a chicken. I do not have any tattoos. I have a chicken.
Oh, man.
Tattoos.
All right, Coach Young, you're a former alumni, former Wampus Cat yourself. Talk to us a little bit about this matchup. Bentonville's playing really well. Conway is playing good, but probably not as well as they were earlier in the year.
Well, first of all, you have to know what a Wampus Cat is. Do you know what a Wampus Cat is?
A
Wampus Cat is a mythical animal that has 6 legs, stands on 4 legs, and fights with 2. Now, how would you like to have that on your defensive line?
There you go.
And I could probably sing the alma mater here, but we don't want your ratings to go down, so I'm gonna avoid that. Big thing is Conway has to go to Bentonville. If they were playing in Conway, I think there would be a lock there. But they have to go to Bentonville. Don't think Bentonville is the same Bentonville that we saw last year. For that sake, I'm going with the Wampus Cats.
Coach Young's going with Zalmar, going with the Wampus Cats. I think this one is, and they played crazy games. I mean, usually it's high scoring back and forth, but weather a little bit. Think we're going to have decent weather. And Bentonville is extremely hard place to play. But I think the Wampus Cats got a little bit more firepower. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody beat me earlier in the year, they usually beat me at the end of the year. And so I'm going to go with Conway. But there are some outstanding matchups. Well, guys, I tell you what, Coach Young, we appreciate you being our Lindsay and Associated guest this week. We're going to send you a couple of some merchandise from Coaches of the Mouth. We're also going to send you a $100 gift card to All American Steakhouse here in Springdale, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, we appreciate you.
It's awesome too, though, that to have Coach on here because he's the dad of Chris.
That's exactly the real. We got.
He's not just a Hall of Fame coach now.
No, he's a dad. He's a dad of his mama.
That's good stuff. Oh man.
I got a question for you, Coach. Just serious. Does your son Chris has done does he ever do you ever offer him advice, or do you think he's got it all under control at Greenwood, right?
Well, he puts me in the press box, so he doesn't get any advice from me.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
No, hey, we talk a lot of football. We really do. He's interested in some things that I might know about, and I'm always interested, in what he's doing, what the team's doing, not just on the football field, but all aspects of his life.
So you get a free meal in the press box on Friday nights, correct?
You bet.
All right.
Coach Young, I got a question for you. What was your best team? What was your best?
Oh goodness, that's hard to answer that. I tell you, we had a football team. I think it was in 1983. We were undefeated at the end of the season. That was before we had. That was first year we started the playoffs. But at the end of the year, Channel 7 in Little Rock gave a trophy for the number 1 team in Arkansas, all classifications. We were in the 6A, and 7A was highest, and we got that award. Probably the best team we had. The first round of the playoffs, first year of the playoffs, we had to go to Texarkana for whatever reason. In the mud and the rain, and we got beat in the first round of the playoffs in the mud to Bill Reed and when he was at Texarkana. That was a good football team, real good football team.
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome. You've had so many great ones. And like I said, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. Guys, I want to thank our sponsors before we leave here. Obviously, this is powered by Lindsay & Associate, All-American Steakhouse in Springdale, and the Pigs brand. Also, check out our merch here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram at Coaches Pod. I want to make sure everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Looking forward to these games this week, and it ought to be an outstanding game this Friday night, and get out and watch them. Well, for Coach Jeff Williams, Coach Daryl Fimple, the Mouth Brent Bender, and our guest picker, Coach Joe Fred Young, we'll see you next time.